everyone, and welcome back to No Capes, the show where we talk about creator-owned comics with creators who own comics. With me today is an incredible creator who owns many comics, the inimitable Melissa White. Melissa, tell everyone a little bit about yourself real quick.
Hey, I'm Melissa. You can call me Mal. I am a writer. I'm an editor at this point. I help put together pitches. I do sensitivity reads. Basically, anything I can do to help out comics while also making my own, if that makes sense.
And now you have Nightmare coming out this year. Tell us a little tell us what you can tell us about that real quick.
Oh yeah, well that's coming out with Scout Comics, so look forward to it. We are very very close. We just need issue 5 essentially. We're ready to go. And oh my gosh, once this is done, it symbolizes so much work. But the story is a horror story following Luz and Kara, her girlfriend, as they navigate nightmares that are alternate dimensions that Luz can travel to via her dreams. So it deals with trauma and kissing and fun times, but also, nightmare fueled monsters that follow her across dimensions, because who doesn't need a little of that?
Yes, I love that. Oh, it's giving me Queen of Bad Dreams with alternate dimension travel except horror vibes. Because
Exactly,
I loved
exactly.
I loved the weird monsters that came out of the dream realm in that.
Mhm.
And if in
Mhm.
this with this where they're traveling to the dream world,
Yes.
yeah, okay, you've got me already. So
Well, thank you.
yeah, keep me posted. Tag me when you share stuff, and I will share it on everything. I'm really excited for that.
Oh, thank you so much.
That sounds incredible and right up my alley. I'm getting right into like weird existential metaphysical horror stuff at the moment, and
Yes.
yeah, the horror is the topic of the day then, in a way,
Hmm.
because of the book that we're talking about today. So we're talking about Bleed Them Dry by Eliot Rahal and an incredible crew. You want to give us a little bit of a breakdown about that?
Yes, I was lucky enough to read this in advance when I was working with Comic-Con.com, reviewing comics. So I got a bit of a sneak peek ahead of everyone else. And I was super excited about it because the team behind this book is amazing. Hands down, they did a fantastic job. Not only do we have Eliot Rahal, who's written it, but we've got Dike Ruan on art, we've got Miquel Muerto on colors, and then we've got World on letters. And not only that, we've got the immaculate, the amazing, the fantastic Tim Daniel doing the logo design and the general design of the book. It's out through Vault Comics, so order it from your comic shop, your favorite place. They will be able to get a hold of it for you. And on top of that, you can read it on Comixology. So there's really literally no excuse.
Yeah,
Get your hands on the
yeah.
book.
There's so many ways to get it now, and I don't know if they've done a collected edition of the miniseries yet, but I definitely want to get that and have it on the shelf here. So you know, I'll go and check that out after we finish here. If there is a collected edition for you guys in the audience, I will link it because it's worth it. They've done an incredible job with this, and I feel like it's a really cool sort of sci-fi cyberpunk noir sort of story, and you'll see
Mhm.
more of that as we talk about it. But speaking about Bolt and cyberpunk stuff as well, have you read The Advance of Fox and Hare?
No, I haven't.
Get in touch with Vault because Adrian was asking for like other press and pros to check it out. I got an advance read of it the other day. Ooh,
Oh,
they
okay. All right.
yeah, it's big cyberpunk energy. Big cyberpunk anime energy. Like with the
Yes.
two main characters are sort of I don't want to give too much away, obviously. They gave me an advanced read, but they're adventurers of a sort. You'll find out exactly what type when you read it, but they've got their cool suits and these fox and hare, like sci-fi style, but also very traditional inspired design masks
Yeah.
that they wear when they're going on their adventures.
Hmm.
Um, it's a story of these two kids that were abandoned when they were children for some reason. I don't actually
Hmm.
know what happened to them yet, other
Hmm.
than their parents are gone, and neither of them knew why at the start of the book. So flash forward to them being grown up. Very exciting stuff. I'm really looking forward to that. And again, Tim and the crew have knocked it out of the park with the design work on that as well.
Of course they have. We know that Vault is leading the way when it comes to comic companies of all sizes coming out with consistent and coherent designs. So
Yeah,
big ups to them.
that's right. Yeah, they really do. They knock it out of the park pretty much every time. This show may as well be the Vault show at this point.
At this
I
point,
I'd
fully.
say
Okay.
I'd say I probably do at least 6 Vault books a season.
Mhm. I
Um,
mean, that's good though. It
yeah.
bring focus to the indie creators that are doing new and exciting things within comics, you know? And Vault has a really good model. They're coming out with some of the greatest storytelling, some really, delicious stories, some really great art that I think readers really need to get their hands
Oh
on, you
yeah.
know?
The lineups that they've announced for this year, they haven't even announced what the books that they're working on are, just the lineups for each team.
The lineups are
Yeah.
insane.
There's
They're
so many
insane.
good ones. The one that I'm especially excited about though is that they announced that Cullen Bunn is doing a Vault book, and
Amazing.
I don't know what it is, but I don't need to know.
No,
I just need to know that name, and I know it's going to be
exactly.
great, and I know that it's Vault, so I know they're going to have a absolutely stellar art team working on it.
Absolutely. And what's crazy, like at this point, just give them, should I hand them my credit card and just say, let's go?
Yeah,
Um,
basically, like,
have fun, I guess.
yeah, I feel like I should just like sign up to subscribe to Vault number ones.
Exactly. At this point, it's crazy. And Bleed Them Dry is absolutely no exception to
No,
this. And I want more people to read this story because if not only for the story parts in which Eliot Rahal, of course, does amazing work and really nails that cyberpunk neo noir feel. But Dike Ruan art and the colors are just, I mean, I can't. The colors are amazing. The art is so dynamic, and I think it lends itself to that dynamic logo as done by Tim Daniel for sure.
yeah, heck yeah, I love the logo, and I love this intro page where it's giving us the full team. And of course, we can't forget Hiroshi Kazumi,
Yes.
who I'm not actually too familiar with Hiroshi's repertoire.
Mhm.
But obviously, if the concept and story and plot
Yeah.
originated with Hiroshi, that's a huge thing. Elliot has done a great job writing this story,
Mhm.
but obviously, in conjunction with Hiroshi, it's great. You've all done an amazing job. If you're watching this, I'm gonna actually go in and do some research on Hiroshi and after this as well because I've been meaning
Mhm.
to do that, but the old ADHD brain keeps derailing me.
Of course.
But I'm excited to see what else Hiroshi's worked
Mhm.
on, whether it's comics or other stuff. This is a great
Yeah.
book, and it's got me curious.
Exactly.
Eliot Rahl's work never fails to excite me.
Mhm.
Same with DK and Miquel. Do you know if Miquel is actually on Twitter anywhere? I've never able to find Miquel to tag them.
I I think they are, but I'd have to check my followers list,
Yeah, I'll
my
have to have a look because
following list to
I
see if I follow
yeah, I
him. I
think I
think I
found
do.
Miquel on Instagram, but
Yeah.
I can't remember if on Twitter because sometimes I have a hard time finding colorists on Twitter.
I mean, everybody's moving to Instagram. So Instagram may be
Mm,
the place to connect with, all the cool art kids, you know?
that's true. That's how I got in touch with Rob from Tute
Mhm.
on his Instagram because he left Twitter a few years back.
Yeah, it's stressful. It can be super stressful.
It can be. It can be. Um, So yeah, let's break down this page a little bit real quick before we get into the story. Just because Tim Daniel's design work on this is phenomenal. I don't know if Tim colored this page as
Mhm.
well in the design process or not, but this solid black of the vampire, the teeth and the little bit of orange texture at the bottom with
Mhm.
the high contrast with the black and white and the diamonds and stuff. I love it. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
And yeah, as you were saying earlier, like as well with Andworld's lettering, everything
Mhm.
looks slick. Um, Before I made a mistake and we lost a few minutes, you was talking about the font choices that they used for the logo
Yeah.
itself that Tim used,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
how that blends the like old Gothic style with crisp
Mhm.
new lines and everything.
Yeah.
It's slick. It's very slick, and the rest of the book
Absolutely.
is equally slick.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the aspects about Tim Daniel that I really love is that he can really nail in on lettering choices and design to make it not only dynamic and really pop off the page, like his work on the plot was fantastic, but he's also a
Yes.
creator himself, you know. So not only is he telling great stories, but he's also designing these logos. So I mean, not to plug Tim Daniels here, but to totally plug him. I mean,
Yeah.
reach out.
Yeah. No, I think I'll be hitting up Tim when I'm ready to pitch some of my books. I've
Yeah,
got two books that I'm hoping to get ready to pitch by next year.
hell
Um,
yeah.
and if that goes well, then yeah, I definitely want Tim to do the logo on at least one of them. I think I want Tim to do the logo on the Network Man because it's got that retro futuristic 70s spy movie vibe.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
And
I think he would knock that out of the park.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, I really do. And there's a lot that I love about this book, but looking at page one immediately, there's one thing that has always stood out to me, and I'm not sure if this is a DK or a Miquel choice,
Hmm.
but it's the when on certain pages they've got that really nice thick white border around a character to make them stand out more against what's happening behind them, and in
Yeah.
on this first page, they've used it
Hmm.
to kind of move the guttering of the panels
Hmm.
around the character. And I
Yes.
really, really love that. There's only a few comics that I remember have done that a lot and done it really well, but I do
Hmm.
love that when I see it done well. And this book does it
Exactly.
really good.
Exactly. I think especially on those first three panels, you know, and panel placement is definitely like more within the realm of your artist. And this is how you know that DK is a professional because able to focus in but also draw us out with a style that you wouldn't typically see, and like you said is only handled by professionals because it's only done a few times. How
Right?
we're able to kind of take those moments and stack them in an introduction as opposed to they're happening and this person is part of it, able to take all of that setup in one page and make it pop, make us understand and make us follow that character through this page is amazing.
Now, I remember in the last episode, you had
Mhm.
some really cool shit to say about the pinks and blues in the background colors and stuff.
Yes.
So
Um,
let's
I
hit
don't
that
remember
again.
exactly what I
I don't
said, but
remember
I'm going
again,
to
but I
talk
know
about
you've got
it.
opinions and I want to hear them.
Good, because I got them. So many
Yes.
of them.
All right. So yeah, like as we were just saying, the these guys are they are top tier professionals. It's hard to do things like those white outlines and make it look good and purposeful and like stylish. Not
Yeah.
I've tried to do it and it didn't work. It's not easy to do well. But another thing that they've done really, really well, as you were mentioning, is the moody backgrounds and like the scene setting with that. So let's talk about this background work for a little bit.
Yeah,
Especially for
yeah.
me, one of my favorite panels is well, not panel three, but the very bottom panel on this
Mhm.
page with the city
Yeah.
skyline and the glow of the lights.
Yes. Excellently done by Dike, definitely. Not only do we get this moody city, but this city kind of reminds me of tendrils and its, you know, wiry connections between
Mm.
buildings and everything. And everything is kind of irregularly placed and jutting out from itself. And on one hand, it reminds me of something organic and alive, but also it's these beautiful and probably very tedious scenes that Dike is doing and that Miguel is kind of, or Miquel is doing coloring. But not only that, they become a character in itself. The city at night becomes a character in and of itself. And his presence here on this first page is really showing us that our connection to this city is just as important as these characters and exists within it. And without the city, there would be no story. And without this understanding of the city,
I,
viewing it at night with these beautiful glowing lights, it feels like a place that not only you want to get lost in and you want to explore so much more of, but you start to understand that not only is Miquel really putting in some amazing work to this color gradient that shifts from pinks and oranges and blues up into this night sky at this distance. But that this isn't just one of those standard cyberpunk cities that are over neoned and over advertised. You have those elements there, but it's still a living city, and there's still people connected to this, and they're not just on the ground. They exist within it as it
Yes.
sort of like cells through a body. You know.
That's exactly right. And as soon as we move to like to this next double page spread, you can feel it even more. Like the glow of all these lights in this ink wash semi painterly style that
Mhm.
Miquel has done. That ain't easy. So like you said, like it probably felt very tedious at the time doing layer after layer, little dot after little dot. But oh my god.
Mhm.
It looks incredible. Doing good glow and making it look real is difficult at the best of times. Doing this much of it and making
Mhm.
each one look deliberately placed and like it's in the position and place that it should be and
Mhm.
feels united in this world is
Mhm.
fantastic. And like you said, the city itself, it feels semi-organic. The building design,
Mhm.
the spiral up the side of that building up in the top left with the,
Yes.
and then there's, I'm not sure if this is actually something they did on purpose or if it's just a cool design thing, but that building in the center background is giving me
Mhm.
strong Evangelion vibes. With the, can't remember,
Mhm.
don't come for me if I get this wrong, internet. I think it's like the eighth angel or something. It's a big diamond
Mhm.
thing, and it shoots these
Mhm.
incredible lasers that melt and
Wow.
destroy everything at will. And when it's firing it, the lines run down the
Mhm.
angles and polygons of it,
Yeah.
and that building in the middle just is really reminds me of that.
Oh, I wonder if DK put that in intentionally.
Yeah, like
I
it
wonder if
could
that
just
was a little
be
nod.
a cool, geometric shape that they chose to put in,
Mhm. Mhm.
but if it is like a little nod to that,
Mhm.
that's cool. I like it.
It's really cool. I think that you get this very intense feeling of familiarity with the city, but also, and not only is it organic, not only is it alive, not only is it, does it exist in a very real way on the page, but this double page spread really gives us a sense of setting, location, mood, and feeling immediately. Yes, we're open up on this murder, as most, cyberpunk noirs. There we go.
Nice.
I got it. It took me a minute, but as most noirs do, and as most cyberpunk noirs do. But having the city playing an important role is amazing, and I love that Mikkel really gave this city a sort of sunset wash that things are not coming alive until sunset.
Mm.
And as we get this great glow, that light coming from within, from below, from the ground, from the people, that's where the life is. And I like that it was used in this beautiful glowing gold light that has some accents of green, some accents of blue, and some pink in there, that kind of reminds me of what we get before we get to blood red.
Yeah, exactly. And the way they use shadow and black ink in this book
Mm-hmm.
is it's something I'm always incredibly envious of when someone's got this kind of skill with black inks. And just like that, the mastery of shadow to put so much black into a frame, but still portray exactly what's there. Like the
Mm-hmm.
face of this little vampire in that one tiny panel, it's mostly
Mm-hmm.
shadow,
Yes.
but you can tell exactly what's going on. Like there's a strung out little dude hiding in that cupboard,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much emotion and energy in that thin strip.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's incredible to me. Like I still don't have that level of skill myself as an artist, so it's always incredible seeing somebody put that down on the page.
Mm-hmm. The way that the doors line up to create
Mm,
its own sort of set of doors within these panels, while also giving us a sense of distance and nearness of this creature to, our very innocent detective. There's a lot of danger there lurking in the shadows. Exactly. Exactly.
yeah. And then like if we move forward a little bit more, the way they did the panels with uh shoot, I'm having a mental blank on his name. The main other cop, her partner, after he slices this vampire in half.
Yes. Oh, wait, hold on. What is his name? Atticus.
Atticus,
Atticus.
that's the one.
Hmm. Yes, I love that panel. I do. I
Yeah,
really
it's
do.
so good. It's
Yeah.
like it's difficult in a static medium to portray things like those scenes in your action movies and horror movies where someone slices the bad guy and they slowly peel apart and fall to the floor. But the
Yes.
way they've done that frame
Hmm.
really does evoke that energy. And yeah, thank you.
Big ups to DK for real, because this is my favorite panel. And just the change between the color, like Miquel again,
Yes.
taking the color from one side as something living to something dead,
Mm-hmm.
and while still keeping in with these kind of like grays and muted colors of the city at night, of the nearness of death. Like it's not a far color change. And I think that they both really absolutely killed this panel just as they killed this or the split panel, just like they killed this vampire. You know,
Yeah,
it's dope. It's
right?
so dope.
And Mikkel's ability to put so much detail and dimension into
Hmm.
a panel that is just mostly red and pink.
Hmm.
Like when this body is lying on the ground, you can see so much of that detail. Even though,
Hmm.
like the line art is that muted sort of brown gray color in on the internal lines of the wound, and there's so
Hmm.
much red and pink in there, but the
Hmm.
values in the colors are just so well done. You can see it
Hmm.
all. Like that would be a
Hmm.
very easy thing to have wash out very quickly and not be able to see all those different layers and dimensions. But he's just got such a good grasp of it.
Exactly. And I think that's, you know, I give a lot of credit to Eliot to be able to tell the story of this dynamicism, give us those surprising moments, and especially in a place that doesn't, you know, he gives us the page turn, he gives us that little, you know, in concert with DK, but then he really hits you with this beautiful scene at the very first turn, and you're like, okay, this is what I'm getting into: danger,
Yeah,
nearness, darkness, evil, and then this mysterious figure that you are, you know, kind of you want to trust. You want to
yeah,
trust Alex when he shows up.
yeah. He's immediately very charming and like you want to trust him, but
Hmm.
also he's just got to look about him like, should we?
Hmm.
Like, should we? Like, you seem really cool, but
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
seem too cool?
Exactly, exactly. And that's, and the, you know, the nod of his entire look to the anime kind of features. That's what kind of
Yeah,
makes me think that there was a nod in there, um, in some respect, you know, because Atticus's look is very distinctive, very anime, and the silver hair, you
yeah,
know, the sort of like the lowered face situation.
yeah. And I love how they do that. And then like it's high octane all the way through. Even though we're getting these quiet moments, like
Hmm.
there's never a dull moment.
Hmm.
It's very engaging and like fast-paced storytelling, introducing characters very
Hmm.
quickly but very concisely. It's not
Yes.
like a flash and like, oh, who was that? Like
Hmm.
you're given a lot of information about who these characters are within a
Hmm.
few panels.
Exactly. And how they kind of interact with the environment and how they interact with each other, to know immediately that, you know, a person, our first introduction is Atticus slicing a vampire in half, you know, cutting through him, and it's done with such flair and such drama. And he kind of almost looks playfully apologetic about it, which I think is, you know, a real nod to us getting that clarity immediately on via his entrance. And I
Yeah.
think that Eliot really did. I mean, you know, we give it up for artists and for colorists all the time, but we really do have to give it up for Eliot as
Heck
the
yes.
writer to really nail in that moment by without us having to read about it in a text bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the art and the story are obviously like in perfect concert. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
the way the story is written and the way that the art team has portrayed it visually
Mm-hmm.
are a real testament to the skill of everyone involved and the synergy of this team to
Mm-hmm.
execute Eliot's vision for the story
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, and talk about page 14, where we get to Atticus and, oh my goodness, Detective, what's your name? Detective, what's your name? Oh my goodness, what's her name? What's her name?
Holloway.
Holloway. Thank you. Once we get to Detective Holloway and Atticus and the split scene between them, kind of following the movements of a two camera setup and a sitcom,
Yeah.
kind of like back and forth conversationally, and how they're able to translate, film shots into comics, definitely. I think that's, you know, we get a little bit more information about Atticus and about Holloway's relationship, and we're getting that through some very clever panel placement.
Yeah.
We're getting that. Usually we understand that you're not supposed to put as many words on a page, and this isn't a criticism by any means. It's really a credit to Anne World's, you know, talent and understanding that they were able to take this two camera shot and use it to kind of create a conversation that runs between the both of them,
Yeah, exactly.
and,
Yeah,
do it in a clever way.
yeah. It's a very skillful breaking of the rules. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. People talk about how many speech bubbles you should have on a page and how many panels you should have on a page, but if you've got a really good understanding of how those rules work and why they are what they are, you
Mm-hmm.
can do stuff like this where you can be like, no, I'm going to do it my way, but I'm going to take the principles of those
Mm-hmm.
rules to do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Exactly, exactly. And do it in such a way that, that it's still dynamic. None of the visual storytelling is lost, while you're also getting, this delicious information and understanding the dynamics between these two.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the in on my version it's page 17,
Oh, it's page 17.
where we've got like the flipped same panel layout flipped during their conversation. You know, we've
Mm-hmm.
got the vertical panel, two horizontal panels on the right, and then two horizontal
Mm-hmm.
panels on the left and vertical panel on the right with all this conversation happening, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
so delicately handled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess like there's so much on here, but it's placed so accurately and delicately that it, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
like the visual storytelling isn't lost because the bubbles are
Yes.
placed right where they need to be and not over anything important.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really well done with how they break up the background of this diner, this brown and brownish purple and yellow, and then frame it by the white kind of negative space of the comic in order to break up that visualization. Otherwise it would bleed in. We've got like a brown booth
Yeah,
seating and then like a similarly like light brownish yellow table. And then we've got the brown yellow situation going on in the background of this diner. So breaking that up with these panels of white in the middle, and then having this like white frame around it really frames our conversation as something that kind of like is talking about something gross, metaphorically, but also being framed with, mutual intentions of sort of like, goodness,
yeah.
or at least so we think.
Took me a second to find that page actually. It's a different
Oh my
page number
god.
on my version.
Oh, okay. You know what? Because I'm on Comixology, and the way that they lay out their pages is different.
Yeah, I've got the PDF download and it's page
Hmm.
10 on mine.
Okay. 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 So I'm gonna refer to what's happening on the page.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
so
that's
that's
the
page
diner
10
scene. I was talking about the scene in the police station.
oh, and when they're talking to the police chief, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because page 14 on mine is when she's getting a hot dog.
And page 14 on mine is is when we transition from cops to the diner. Okay.
Yep, that makes sense.
So
Cool.
I think we're 5 pages off from each other.
That's bizarre, because like mine is the download from Comixology. You can download a backup copy of your book.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I don't know
That
why
is
it's so
weird.
different.
Exactly. That's weird.
Yeah, because the Comixology website is garbage here now. It doesn't work properly
Yeah.
anymore.
I don't love it. I
Yeah.
don't love it. I do it on my phone and it's still like, when you go into dynamic
Mm.
paneling,
Yep.
ugh,
And my
annoying.
my tablet is a Windows tablet, so I can't use it on there either.
Fun.
Yep.
Super fun. Thanks,
Yep.
Amazon.
But yeah, that diner scene is fantastic. Like the first panel in that scene with the lights in the background,
Hmm.
I love that. That's so
Yep.
cool.
Exactly. Exactly. Like this understanding of what we're working with, where we are, who they are, is told so well through that. And these scene changes done through colors. Another nod to Miquel for telling us, for following how each scene interplays with each other, but also how we can shift moods within the same page, so we're not losing real estate or putting in filler. Just by color choices is
Right?
fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then we get this scene of her at home as well,
Hmm.
and she's having nightmares, and we get this vulnerable viewpoint.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, and it's like it almost feels like we're seeing something we shouldn't really, because it's this
Hmm.
private vulnerable moment.
Yes,
She doesn't have her emotional armor on that she has when she's at work.
exactly, exactly. And like this moment of her is short, but it tells us so much about what kind of what kind of person that we're dealing with. And on the one hand, we do get your sort of usual detective kind of caught between, two worlds and having to figure them both out, but also this moment of this detective who is not handling it very well,
Yeah.
coming home to a house with a cat in it, and not really having a life outside of her work.
Yeah, like the apartment is it looks like it's probably a pretty nice apartment, but it's almost completely empty.
Exactly. Expensive storage.
Yeah, so it's like it's a house, but
Hmm.
it is most definitely not a home.
Exactly, exactly. And then when we go outside again, we see that there's so much more life that's happening around and outside of her. Even when we're just getting shots of the city and
Yeah,
lights being on, there's so much more going on than what's happening in her home.
right? Yeah, there really
Mhm.
is. There's so much color to it, and it's so vibrant in the world outside. And yet again, like he's in very neutral tones, fairly
Mhm.
earthy tones. The blue is the most dynamic color she wears, whereas
Mhm.
the rest of the world around her is, vibrant yellows and pinks and greens and
Yes,
even
absolutely.
yeah, even the purple that she wears is so muted compared to the purple of this guy's suit as he gets off the train.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, obviously there's that connection of the blue with her with her being a police officer, her being a detective, but still the neutrality of her coloring of, the clothes that she wears and things that she puts on really speaks to her position working with that kind of the seedier parts of this bright city
Yeah,
and working in the darkness and working with what, during the nighttime.
exactly. And
Mhm.
then it's really interesting to see how things develop further in the book.
Mhm.
As uh,
Exactly.
spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't read the book yet, now is your time to bugger off, read the book, come back and watch the rest of the episode because we'll probably talk about things that happen in other issues now. So
Yes.
go do that and then come back. Um,
I like it. Spoiler alert. That is a great idea because I will just start talking about it. And I'm very glad that we haven't talked about anything that's going on with the story yet.
yeah,
So as
I
not to
literally just
spoil it.
realized that we're starting to get to that point now where we could start talking about future things. Usually I do that a
Mhm.
little bit earlier because
Mhm.
we get so excited about the book overall that I need to drop it
Mhm.
in about 10 minutes in. But
Yeah.
this one issue has so much to it.
Hmm.
You know, there's that we haven't even needed to. I'm just going to talk about this scene actually in the police station where they're congratulating Atticus on catching the bad guy.
Hmm.
Just the one picture specifically where he's standing there all chuffed and proud of himself with his glass of blood, and just
Yes.
that drawing is incredible. The
Hmm.
coloring, the inking on that, the way that the solid black is done on the suit
Hmm.
again. Oh man, I love it. I love it so much.
Exactly. He's so proud of himself, but we also get this like nice shining, shiny elements to it that
Mm,
make him kind of look like a superhero, like a larger than life character from
yeah,
like the angle of the drawing and everything, and how clean and crisp he is. But meanwhile, he's drinking blood. There's a sort of like, you know, just violence
right,
in his sheer existence, and we're being asked to treat this as normal.
right. And that's it. Like they could have shot that
Mhm.
from any angle,
Exactly.
but the choice to do it from this angle looking up does, like
Hmm.
you said, makes it feel like he is that larger than life. I
Hmm.
am above you all. I am the
Hmm.
hero here. Energy.
Hmm. Exactly. And especially as we start to find out that he does really think that he's better than everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And, that angling makes sense. He's centered throughout the page. It is very much all about him. And, whereas Holloway is kind of background character for that page,
Right.
even though this is her story.
Yeah, exactly. And as it goes on, we get we get this thing where she's working late
Hmm.
and she's fallen asleep, and
Hmm.
then that's where Atticus fucked up
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
decided to start doing his shady shit.
Hmm.
Didn't check if anybody was still in the building,
Nope.
and then he's busted by Holloway. He,
Exactly.
yeah, she
Exactly.
busts him feeding on the a doctor. Can't remember who this
Um,
doctor is.
this is the man that they caught in that like weird priest looking
That's
outfit.
right. Yeah.
Exactly. He has his plant and he's finishing the job so that there are no witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And the amazing colors that are happening. So we get this like white, the white basic comic frame. That's what we're pretty much using. But in this, we have shadows that are kind of creeping in around the scene, creating this like oval on the page
Yeah.
as if we're a spotlight of something in the darkness that we can barely see. And the colors between green and red, green, I've always been I've been wondering about this. What this green represents juxtaposed against this like sharp red.
Mm. Yeah. 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 I know what you mean.
Hmm.
Yeah, these cool tones versus the brilliant, almost hot red.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And how much gradient there is, and how much, where the light source is coming from. It's coming from behind her, it's coming from above her. And then you have this like green, but this green isn't like a natural green, it's
No,
really sickly.
right? And like
It look,
the other question I've got, and this isn't a
mhm,
question about, this isn't questioning the writers or the artists or anything. This is
mhm,
questioning Atticus himself.
mhm.
Why has he got to be shirtless to do this?
I, you know, because he's sexy and he wants everyone to know it.
Right?
And it gotta be.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that. I'm like, okay, so you're at work, you're
Mhm,
disposing of some evidence,
mhm,
but you got to be sexy and shirtless to do it.
mhm. Well, who wants blood on their shirts? You know how hard it
That's
is to
yeah,
get that?
that's fair. That is true. But I
Hmm.
mean, that armor he was wearing earlier looked like it'd be pretty easy to clean. It's all smooth and
I would
shiny,
hope. I would hope. I wonder what kind of dry cleaning they have in the future.
right?
Who
But
knows?
yeah, it's just like that tells me a lot about Atticus. You know?
Hmm. Oh yeah, Oh yeah, his need to constantly show off his rippling muscles. I think he thinks he fully is aware that he's faster, bigger, stronger, but also that he thinks that he is of nature.
Mm, he does, yeah.
He
He
is
thinks
a,
he's an apex predator.
exactly, and maybe that's what that green really represents, especially because it kind of reminds me of Mountain Dew.
Mm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
it's this kind of green that you would think is of nature, but we're able to tell what real natural things look like.
Yeah,
And this unnatural sort of green, which is a theme throughout, this red versus this green, it's like the natural world versus this thing that is unnatural, but is presenting as something from the natural world.
yeah, 100%.
And as we later learn, is not natural to this world.
Yeah, no, I think you've nailed that there. And I love after he stabs the doctor, this scene that to us appears to be moving still, where he's got Holloway by the throat. But
Mm-hmm.
the way they've done the background indicates that actually no, he is just moved at impossible, inhuman speed to grab her.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Like she's running at him, but he has moved toward her.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And it does, like the
Well,
the lines kind of feel like they've both been just moving in two completely different directions.
yes, 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 yes. And the quickness of which he moves, like the blur on his face, making him appear even more demonic than he
Yes, yeah,
actually
more
is.
inhuman, more bestial,
Hmm. Hmm.
draconic almost.
Exactly, exactly. And the green in her eyes could represent, I mean, we did see it before, but this
Mm.
green now has changed to her infection, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with this sort of like unnatural venom, so to speak.
And then suddenly the mysterious figure from the hotel earlier in the book.
Exactly. Ninja vampire.
Right? I love this guy. He's got such Rick O'Connell pirate vampire ninja vibes, and I am
Exactly.
super here from it. It's
Yes, yes. The way he shows up and kicks some serious ass before rescuing Detective Holloway, who was really close to getting her throat fully torn out or becoming a vampire herself.
right. And yeah, it's like this outfit he's got is great. It's so Han Solo meets Rick O'Connell
Yes.
with some ninja elements thrown in, and I love that. He's
Mm-hmm.
he's so stylish, so much cooler looking than Atticus,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
just rips Atticus open, wordlessly picks up Holloway, and zips off into the night with his fucking grappling hook.
You know, total ninja Batman vibes, jumps and zoops away.
Right?
And then leaves Atticus totally like half of his body is cut off,
Yeah. Yeah, he is torn from shoulder to navel.
as one should be.
In
He's a
in
dick.
yeah, in one slice.
In one slice, so you're dealing with somebody who's badass because Atticus just showed up out of nowhere, like him, and sliced this other vampire in half, right? Leaving him to dead. Atticus survives, so you know that Atticus is our big bad.
Right?
But this guy clearly has competing skills and talents because he shows up and then ducks out with managing to get Holloway and
Right?
at the same time.
One-handed.
Exactly. So you know he knows what he's doing, and he does so wordlessly.
Yeah,
Atticus needs a big speech.
yeah, exactly, right? Atticus is all shirtless and veiny and rippling muscle and showing off. This guy just, other than blowing a hole in the wall to let himself in,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, I'm done.
You, da, da, da,
I'm a
grappling
bounce.
hook away. Thanks for everything. Goodbye, which is really cool. And then we go into two, which is a continuation of the story. So if you have not read the rest, skittle daddle.
Yeah, yeah. If you haven't read past issue 1, go read it and then come back because we're gonna start getting into
Exactly.
stuff.
Exactly. Unless you don't care about spoilers, then stick around. But when we open up on two, now we've got Holloway screaming into the void, infected by vampire venom. Now with her mouth green.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So she is definitely the continuation of that theme. I think, really nice callback,
Yeah,
especially
right?
distance between issues. But when you see it all together in the graphic novel format, you're in for this wonderful surprise, and it's really nice that Miquel was able to bring those elements into issue 2 right on that first page.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to go back and reread the whole series again soon because I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to remember some stuff towards the end and I can't, and I'm really excited to reread it again. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm right, this is some time travel fuckery too, isn't it?
No, no
No?
time travel fuckery. But we do go into the past. We get a past montage.
Because I thought this guy was from the past.
He is, but he got like stuck in his
That's
capsule.
right. He got like cryo frozen.
Exactly. He
Yeah.
woke up carrying out the mission of his past.
So as far as he's concerned, it's time travel, but it's not
Hmm.
time travel.
Exactly. He's not
Yeah.
from the past, come to the future to destroy his grandpa. He is here, just past popsicle,
Yeah.
a little after popsicle stage.
Yeah. 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 He's a vampire Captain America.
Exactly. Exactly. With a ninja twist, which I love. Give me more of that.
Yeah,
But
that's great. I had to remember. All I could remember was that he was from the past. I couldn't remember how he
mm-hmm,
got there.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I gotta say again, we've got some very fantastic storytelling and visual storytelling that's
Yes.
happening here. It's just there's very little dialogue, and it's really a conversation between these two characters. Mystery vampire ninja that totally kicked Atticus's ass, and Detective Holloway, who is howling for blood, howling for you, and now kind of becoming, you know, and kind of settling into this in between state. And he's not killed her.
No.
He's like, you know what? Maybe you can help me. And there's a certain intimacy here that is, I think, really sweet and telling of who Atticus is versus who this guy
Mm-hmm.
is.
And then we get to see the return of Atticus, where he's he's lied about his injuries
Mm-hmm.
and tries to put the blame on this guy in Halloway,
Mm-hmm.
and then he gets rebuilt into this cybernetic body, which he hates because he's so vain.
Oh, he loves his ripped abs. He
Yeah.
really does. Put cybernetic abs on him? Please. No.
Maybe don't get chopped in half.
Maybe don't be a dick. Maybe
Yeah.
don't bite your partner.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
It's
don't do
not
crimes and you won't get chopped in half by vengeful
exactly.
ninjas.
That generally is how you avoid getting chopped in half, I feel like, is avoiding crime. And a crime that doesn't piss a guy off from the past
Yeah.
who gets accidentally cryovologically frozen and then comes back to kick your ass. I feel like there's a lot of things that Atticus did wrong.
Yeah. Did many things. He's
Yes.
just such a.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Yeah,
no other way really to describe Atticus than just an utter dick. He's
exactly.
everything he does is for his own ego. It's not. He doesn't even have a grand plan, if I remember rightly.
No, he wants to be police chief. Like, that's your goal. You did all of this to become captain of the pigs. Like,
Right?
come on.
Yeah. He just wants just enough power to get away with whatever he wants to get away with,
Yes.
and that's it.
And that's it.
Like he doesn't have a
You
grand
know?
plan,
No.
but he just wants to be able to be a corrupt cop without worrying about people above him.
Which it's from what it seems like, everyone already is like, Atticus, you're great. Like, he could literally just keep it at that. It is really just a case of very poor planning, underestimating how many people hate you. So many people,
Yeah.
even of his own vampire kin, are just like, ugh, Atticus, ugh, here he comes. Oh, I hate this guy.
Yeah. Have you watched Our Flag Means Death yet?
Mm, I love it. It's my
Atticus is
favorite show.
Izzy Hands.
Yeah, yeah.
He thinks he's the
He
shit, but
is.
everybody actually
He
hates him.
is. Exactly. No one likes Izzy Hands at all. And even Izzy Hands doesn't even like Izzy Hands. He doesn't know how to not be Izzy Hands.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, he can't
Perfect
stop
in a good
being
way.
Izzy Hands.
Exactly. So Atticus is just Izzy Hands, only in the
Yeah,
future.
just
If Izzy Hands was a cop in the future and a vampire. So funny. And it's
yeah,
true. It's absolutely true. When we get to Atticus's cyborg vampire body, it was like, it's so funny that he gets turned into a vampire cyborg instead of like rapid healing. I think
yeah,
that was an interesting choice.
yeah. No, I liked that. I was like, I wonder, like, I guess in this world there is a limit to
Hmm.
what their healing capacities can recover from.
Yes.
Like, I imagine if it was just a deep sword wound through the muscle and maybe, a bit of a stab in the organs,
Hmm.
their regenerative abilities could probably heal that up.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing because there was too much bodily trauma and it was like
Hmm.
pulled apart, which would give it time to
Hmm.
congeal and
Yeah.
scar, that
Yeah.
it couldn't re-knit everything together.
I think it's interesting. I like there being a flaw to this,
Yeah,
to vampires, not just the the light situation, but that if you manage to do pretty significant damage to them, you can totally chop off a vampire arm. This isn't bleed, it's a
yeah,
different energy. And I love that.
yeah.
I think we deserve
I wonder if he would be able to survive with those missing parts and but
the way
not
that
regenerate them. Like I
the way
wonder.
that he was crawling about, I would say yes.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I imagine that he'd probably be able to, because they are still technically undead.
Yeah, no, they're totally undead.
So yeah, I imagine he'd probably be able to keep on keeping on, and
Yeah,
that the cyborg body was more of a practical thing than a life-saving thing.
exactly. Exactly. It's more like, just give him an extra arm so that he can continue to be an ascot. Which,
Yeah,
I guess. And it looked really painful. So, I mean, he's getting a little bit of what he deserves. Not
yeah,
only is he no longer, Atticus of abs, he's now cyborg Atticus, less vain, definitely hurting
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
energy.
But yeah, I think
But
that's
how,
a really interesting way to do it. Instead of him being able to just, take a long time, drink a lot of blood, and heal from that back to good
mhm,
as new. Like, no, he could
mhm.
probably. And Elliot and crew, correct us if we're wrong on this. I'd love to know exactly how the vampires work in your universe. But it seems like he would be able to survive the damage, but then just be half a torso that could talk.
Yes. I mean, thankfully for him, I guess he has access
Yeah,
to,
exactly. He can be
cyborg
rebuilt so
surgery.
that he can still keep on doing his shady, dark business.
Exactly. This gives him a little bit of added
Mm,
motivation to destroy Holloway and Sexy Vampire Ninja. But also, this is that kind of comeuppance. This is what you get for all of your scheming and your lies and your plans. It doesn't always work out for him. And I like the vampire that we have a little bit more of an opportunity
mm,
to kill. Not it's unheard of in this world, but we know that vampire ninja means business.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yeah, it's nice to know that you, like, in this world, you could incapacitate a vampire like that if you
Mhm.
needed to. You know,
Exactly.
it's not just a matter of, cut off the head, stake through the heart is the only way to destroy them.
Hmm.
You could stop them while not necessarily
Exactly.
destroying them.
Exactly. Which is fantastic. I think that gives us some dynamicism, and it also moves away from the typical vampire stereotype, which is interesting to see. I think, especially with things like vampires, with, zombies and werewolves, we have to kind of reinvent the wheel. And I'm not sure how much of this is Hiyozaki's
Mm,
doing in his original series, or whether it was a concerted effort between, Hirozaki and Raw working together to develop the story for comics.
yeah, exactly. I'd love to know more about that. I'm gonna have to try to
Mhm.
look, like I said, look into Hiyazaki's work so I can find out more about this world because I
Exactly.
really like this world and I hope we get more of it one day. Like,
Yeah.
if the team is done, that's also
Mhm.
fine. But it would
Mhm.
be really cool to see some more adventures in this world.
Well, we did get, I think, a really complete graphic novel,
Exactly, it is. It's a
and
very yeah.
that's what I love. I really love the idea of leaving mystery, leaving room for more as you take up the mantle later on, if you do. But I do like that this felt really complete, and it
Mm-hmm.
felt like the story between Atticus and Holloway was complete, and we get to see Holloway's journey. I do think she was underutilized though
Yeah.
throughout the series.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's like I would like to see some more continued adventures of Holloway in her
Hmm.
new life. But yeah,
Hmm.
I really loved that they buttoned it up nice and neatly, but the way
Hmm.
they did the world building and how fleshed out the characters were, there is room for more stories to be told in this world if they
Yeah.
so chose, but
Yes.
they don't have to. And that's something I
Hmm.
really love when a book is wrapped up nice and neatly like that.
Hmm.
But if they were to suddenly pop up with a new series, it wouldn't feel forced and I wouldn't question it like going, how are you going to tell more stories about this? Like
Exactly.
some books, some TV shows are just so completely wrapped up that you
Hmm.
hear about a sequel and you're like,
Do there need
how?
to be?
How?
Hmm.
How are you going to do more of this? This, and this were already dealt with. But this
Exactly.
world obviously still has so much more to it
Hmm.
that they could easily, it doesn't even have to be Halloway, they've
Exactly.
fleshed out that this world is so vast and intricate and interesting that they could pick
Hmm.
up a new crew
Hmm.
that's just already is still living in this world.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
they could have that crew going on adventures and have mention of Halloway and Atticus and
Hmm.
Vampire Ninja Guy because
Hmm.
they exist in the world, but it wouldn't have to
Yeah.
be centered on them because that's how big
Exactly.
this universe is.
Exactly. And that's a lot. And I think that's really why we have such dynamic cityscapes
Mm,
and storytelling to where the city is a character, because, there can be an infinite amount of stories within this world, as you said, that don't necessarily involve Holloway and her adventures. Though I will say, as I said before, I do feel like Holloway was underutilized. I feel like this was more of an introduction into her
yes.
world. And I would love to see her, take more of the reins, maybe in her half vampire state, maybe in a fully human state, but having a better understanding of how the vampire world works.
Yeah.
Especially because there's so much left to do within this
Yeah,
story.
exactly. I would love to see
Hmm.
another miniseries maybe following her in her half
Yes,
vampire state,
yes.
trying to find a way to help herself and others that may
Hmm.
have found themselves stuck in the same situation, That's
Hmm.
not a very healthy and happy situation to be in.
Of
So like
course,
maybe Holloway is hunting out others like her to help them deal with their issues.
of course, of course.
And
We're
that would be really
getting
cool, I think.
I think so. I think we're getting an understanding of how intricate this world
Mm,
is, and I think that Eliot Rahal and team really gave us a story with infinite possibilities, with complexities, and with characters that have so much more room to play.
exactly.
If the series continues, but if not, we've got a really great look at
Yeah,
what.
that's exactly. You nailed it.
Mhm.
They did. They made an incredible universe with room to play without
Yes,
leaving anything unfinished.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
And of
and that
course, we
takes a really good team to do.
It does, it does. But you know what I will say about Vault is they have a really good eye for teams and for story that can really, you know, really tell something and create something great. So
Yeah.
I mean, big kudos to them, and I want more people to read this. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. If you end up reading this book after watching this episode, please let us know because like let us know what you think of the book. And also, it's really nice to hear when these conversations have encouraged someone to pick up a book. So yeah, let
Exactly.
hit the comments and let us know. Join the Discord and tell us what you thought about the book, I want
Yes.
to hear from you, the audience, about these books. Like, did you like it? Do you have questions about it?
Mhm.
Let us know.
Exactly, exactly. And I will say that I think that Vault is doing a really great job of connecting the world of sci-fi and fantasy into the
Mm,
future.
mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if anyone does anything, I think it's definitely keeping an eye on what Vault is doing next, because you're always going to get a great story within genre from Vault.
Yes, 100%. Vault, if you're watching, hi, I, I've got some stories. Also, like, just any of you, I've DB's been on the show, but like, Tim, Adrian, Damien,
Mhm.
whoever else, any of the Vault staff, if you guys want to come on the show, hit me up. I'd love to have you.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. I hope they come on the show. I hope they wow your audience. And also, some sweet, sweet tips on how to get acknowledged by companies for, the fans looking to become comic creators, and also the current comic creators would be
Exactly.
really helpful.
Exactly. And I would love to talk about these books from, a
Mhm.
comic book designer's perspective, an editor's
Yes.
perspective.
Yes.
Like, I want to have
Exactly.
more folks than just writers, artists, and letterers
Hmm.
that are working in the industry to
Hmm.
analyze these books with and see what the things that they pick up on
Hmm.
and the things that get them excited about a book. I think that would be really
Yes.
interesting to find out.
Yes, definitely. I mean, all I can speak to is from an editor standpoint, and, from the marketing, independent kind of marketing that I've done freelance. And this is a really easy book to sell. And it's no wonder that it was so well received critically,
Yeah,
is that it is a tight story with dynamic characters and great visual storytelling that really speaks to readers. And there's always something new to find within it, on every reading.
yeah,
So I think it's one of those books that really one of those graphic novels that really will age very well as more fans, get into their second, third, fourth reads and start picking up on, Miquel's color choices, and, what Easter eggs lie within the pages, within the text, as well as panel placement and bubbles, and, some of the background art that just creates such elegant design. So,
yeah,
absolutely.
100%. Yeah, this book is incredible. Go and read it. The links will be in the description below for where you can go and read it. And
Hmm.
come back and tell us what you thought. I'd love to hear what you think about the book. I'd love to discuss these books. So just, yeah, tell us what you think. If you've already read it, comment and tell us what you think about the book. Tell us if you've got questions. Like, I'm thinking of maybe at the end of the year or something, I might do like a anyone who's been on the show that wants to come and hang out and just talk about questions we've had about the books that have been on the show, sort of thing. I
That's
think that could be
cool.
really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. I'd be down.
Yeah. So yeah, if people have questions, like, I've got a contact form on my website. If you have a question about one of the books that you would like to hear discussed in an episode like that, drop it in the contact form. Just put like "no capes questions" or something as
Hmm.
your subject. Um,
Exactly.
I'd love to see what people want to know about these books, and then maybe we can get the creators to come on and answer some questions. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. That would be really cool. Get, the team together and talk about some of these choices, I think it would be dope. And it's also great for them to kind of hear the feedback of how their story, we kind of send a story out and it goes into the void, not knowing how our audience received it. It's always a great idea. And it's also a great idea to like pose questions to the creators, because everyone wants to talk about their process. Everyone is different. Everyone comes from different backgrounds. And I think
Exactly.
that's what makes comics so interesting, that there's always a new perspective to learn that can help you in making your own comics, or just become a better fan, or a better reader, or help enhance the story for you personally in ways that maybe you didn't think of before.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You nailed it. And yeah, talk to creators. Like, we're all on Twitter, we're all on Instagram. Obviously we can't take pictures and stuff like that from randos because we can get in trouble for that. But if you
Yeah.
have questions about the stories that people like us, I'm only just starting, so don't bother about me, but just like me and people like me that have stuff published, if you have
Mhm.
questions about the work,
Mhm.
ask us, talk to us.
Exactly.
Like, we'd love to talk about all the stuff that doesn't make it into a book as well.
Yes. And there's a lot.
Yes, there's always so much more than you know. So yeah, definitely. So
You know,
where
I have a dump file. I have a dump file of all of the things that never made it into books, so I can start using it in other books where it does work. So,
yes, I love that. Yep, yep, I love that. All right, so we're approaching the hour. So
mhm.
Mal, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram, on TikTok, on Xbox Live, you know, everywhere you get your social media at Melissa Fent, and that's Malissifent. You can find me there. You can do that. You can ask me a question at any time. Get into a DM if you have any questions on how to do a pitch, how to market your book, where do you go, what do you do, how do you start. I am happy to share my experience with you.
Excellent. I will link those profiles below for folks. And you've got Nightmare coming out. Is there anything else that you're like editing or advising on that's really exciting that you're excited about that's coming out?
They're not anything that I can talk about, but it's always exciting to have a few little mysteries going. So, but I can't wait to talk about it, and you will be the first to know.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Mel on social media because there's some really cool stuff coming. And obviously, you can find all my social media links in the description below, but you can find No Capes at No Capes Show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find me at some variation of Brain Beast Studios on all platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. And there's a Discord link below if you want to join the Discord and chat comics, TTRPGs, nerdy stuff in general. If you like cacti and succulents, I've got a gardening channel. Come and talk to me about your plant babies, you know. And obviously, if you like the show, if you liked my comics, my games, and you want to help me keep making more, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. It starts at $5 AU, which is like $2.50, $3 American a month. Once I hit like the $100 a month mark, I can start paying my collaborators for all of the pitches that didn't make it into anthologies and start making more comics. So, if you want to help that happen, please consider subscribing to Patreon. Link is in the description. But until then, this has been No Capes. I am Sean Sunday. This has been my wonderful guest, Melissa White.
Hello.
Keep reading comics, tell us what you think about them, and stay safe. Bye for now.
Bye.